everybody, happy 2023 and welcome to another video. This video is called What are my plans for Siskola, and I wanted to share with you some of the things that are on my priority to-do list and go more into detail of all the things that need fixing or need to be done. And for those who have been following me since the beginning, they know what a massive project this is that I have my hands on. So that I bought it in the springtime and it was sold to me completely derelict. All the buildings are in bad shape and they basically have no work because they were so that you cannot even fix them up. But I believe that they can be fixed up and I really want to save Siskola. So yeah, let's get started. Let's start with the roof. Even though the roof has been cleaned and the broken tiles replaced, the roof is still one of the biggest priorities because the tiles are made of concrete and most likely in the 60s, so they're getting quite thin and crumbly and won't last very much longer. But the roof structure still looks good and I believe most rafters are intact. But the fascia boards are rotten and the gutters are barely holding on. I would like to have a black machine seam sheet metal roofing, so it goes with the old look of the house. But for a while I was also considering a triangle batten felt roof, like they used to have in the old times. But it's much softer and there's a lot of trees around the area, so I feel it's a bit safer with a metal roof because at any point like a branch might fall on the roof and nick the felt. But anyway, before the roof can be done, the chimney has to be rebuilt first. However, the roof is a very big investment, so I'm not sure if I will have the means to repair it at this point. So maybe I'm hoping that the tiles would last maybe another year. But if I get the chimney done in the near future, I would be super happy with that. I have read a lot about bricklaying and different mortars and such, and I would really like to build a chimney myself, but I don't know, it might be a little too difficult for a newbie. I would also be needing to build some kind of platform on the roof to work on. There is a smell of mold when you enter the cottage, so I imagine there are some moisture problems. The leaking roof above the bathroom has been taken care of and that was one of the culprits, but the damage was so severe that the whole bathroom had to be gutted. The room was covered completely with plastic carpets from the floors to the walls, so that had to be done anyway. There were some visible mold dots when the plastic was there that you could see on the walls. And there are also some mold dots on the inside surface of the front door that faces the bathroom. So the front door needs to be replaced at some point. The entrance part of the house where the bathroom is not original, and I'm not quite sure when it has been built. But for a moment I was considering actually removing it completely. But on the other hand, it would be nice to have a functioning bathroom with an inside toilet there. So the foundation is already there, so maybe it's just best to rebuild it. The rotten bathroom ceiling will be rebuilt at the same time with the rest of the roof. Also at the moment, that part of the house has no electricity. The kitchen walls have been scraped down to the bare logs. And most of the logs, they look really good. But once I remove the floor, I can take a closer look at what is the extent of the damage. Usually the worst bits are hidden between the ground level and the floor. So most probable is that some logs need replacing. And the ideal would be to get some old logs from another old building that has been demolished instead of using the newer timber, because the new timber, they are often worse quality because they have been grown really fast and with modern production methods. Although I like the 50s look and vibe of the Haltex plated ceiling, I have decided to remove them because I spotted a nice old beadboard under them when I took out the cabinet. But I don't believe that's a very big thing to do. It should be quite fast to remove them. I can't wait to start ripping out the plastic floor covers. My fingers have been itching this whole time to do it. And then I can finally take a look at the floorboards in the kitchen. I'm not sure if I will be able to salvage them, but one can always hope. The subflooring has most likely caved in because I saw a lot of rock wool against the bare ground when I looked under the house. It will be a very dirty job to remove the old floor insulation. Not sure what to expect, but probably sawdust, damp rock wool, mouse poop, a lot of styrofoam, and most likely rotten wooden joists. There also seems to be a lot of trash and debris under the house, and that needs to be digged out manually. That would be an even dirtier and harder job to do, and maybe a little tricky because there is a lot of broken glass. Maybe in between of the glass and the trash you can find some entering things as well. In the kitchen there is an old wooden stove. I would love to have it back in use and connected to the chimney again. And in the corner of the kitchen there is a concrete slab where I think that it once stood, but it looks very cracked and deteriorated. So I'm not quite sure where to put or what to do with the stove while I remove the floor because it's super, super heavy. The doorway from the kitchen to the newer part of the building, that used to be a window in the old cabin. From an old newspaper clipping I found in the wall, I believe they expanded the house in 1969. I wanted to make there in the entrance a wider, nice double door instead of the one that is there now. So I can leave the log walls visible and there won't be this part that is made of planks. The newer part of the house is this big room to the west. And that looks really like structurally sound. It has the nice floorboards. But I also think that they has to be taken out and get a look what's underneath them. The concrete plinth looks so low and there are no ventilation holes what I saw, and it needs to have that for moisture to dry the moisture. Also the ground level around the house needs to be lowered, so I was thinking of maybe asking my neighbor with the excavator to come and do some scraping of the topsoil, and that shouldn't be too expensive, I think. The small room next to the kitchen is in the original part of the house, and I haven't done anything to it yet. It still has the old furniture in it, and they are quite heavy, so I can't remove them by myself. And everything has to be, of course, removed so I take out the floors. Although the windows in the cottage need to be restored or replaced at some point, they are okay for the time being, so they're not really a priority at the moment, but they have a bit too modern look for the style that I would like, maybe in the future. But that is mainly cosmetic, so for the moment I won't touch the windows. I still haven't ventured up to the attic to clean it out. There are a lot of interesting things stored up there, and I can't wait to go through it. After I clean it up there, more isolation should be added, and then some floorboards to make a cozy summer room and a nice place for the boys to hang out. This is the sauna building. It's overall in a pretty good shape. I'm not sure when it has been built either, maybe in the 50s or 60s. The well itself was built in 1948 because I can see the stamp there in the concrete. But the sauna, I'm not sure. The sauna benches need a light sanding and then some paraffin oil to moisture them, and they will be just as good as new. And then I'm gonna whitewash the sooted chimney wall that is behind the sauna stove. There is also a little wood burning stove in the sauna chamber, but just like in the kitchen, it's not attached to the flue, and the fume exit has been covered with concrete. But I would really like to get it back in function again. There is some problem with the floor in the sauna chamber, where one corner of the room has dropped. Someone has added some metal plates to cover it, so they have to be removed first, and then I can take a look under the floorboards. Hopefully it's just a joist that has caved in and nothing like major, but the only way to make sure is to lift up the floor. The wall coverings are a bit wobbly and loose, so they need to be removed at some point as well. I'm not sure yet if I will put up the cardboards, like new cardboards up there again, or just leave the wooden wall visible. I was sleeping in the sauna for the most of the summer when it was still warm, and I could hear some rattling up from the attic in the sauna, so I think that there might be a squirrel nest there. So it would be good to go up there and take a peek. And who knows what I will find up there. Anything is possible. But anyway, it would be good to just add some maybe more insulation, because with time it just gets flat and it's not warming anymore. It doesn't hold anymore. So some fresh insulation would probably be needed. The sauna porch is a bit rotten. It will need a good scrub to remove the green algae from the wood. And some floorboards also has caved in there next to the plinth. I need to also continue to work on the plinth, since I only started on it and I did the north side. That seemed to have the most damage. And then the ground level has risen so much that I have to dig also around the sauna and then make some trenches where the water can drain nicely. Another thing that I did not quite finish yet is the well. It still needs disinfecting and water samples taken. I already got a complete kit to do that, and it was quite expensive, maybe I remember around 150 euros. And before I do that, I still have to put in the sand in the bottom. But the problem is that the water pipe in the well that goes up to the house is quite close to the bottom, so there's not much room left to put the layer of sand. And I don't want the pipe to be clogged once it's attached back to the pump. So maybe I have to actually shorten the pipe a little bit. And it would be also very good to get another concrete ring on top of the well to make it a bit higher and more safe, and then also like to build a new cover for it. The smaller sauna, the newer sauna that is next to the cottage, is going to be converted to a little guest house. The metal roof has a big bend where the tree branch hit it, and also the fascia has suffered in the front. So that has to be repaired. And also the base of the whole house is really bad. In fact, there's no proper foundation at all, so there's going to be a lot of work to fix it. Maybe it can be lifted up completely to make a proper foundation underneath. I will also remove the wall between the sauna and the dressing room, and then I would really like to build out the porch with some windows, and that way I could get some extra space. But we often sit on the porch to have breaks and to enjoy the scenery. So if that becomes the inside area, then I would like to have an outside place that is a covered seating place, and maybe with a fire pit in the middle, some cozy place to spend evenings as well. The barn is huge, so there's going to go quite a lot of work into that. And the roof is quite okay, and I haven't seen any big leaks, but the rain gutters, they are non-existent. So I have to extend them around the house and then make some kind of way to gather the rainwater. The most suffered part of the barn is the south side. That is actually missing 2 windows, and also all the places where the rainwater has splashed to the surface, where they have the big water barrels. Those have suffered a lot and the wood covering has rotten away. And also because of that, the big barn door has fallen from its hinges because it's attached to this rotten wood. In one of the rooms inside the barn, the lintel above the window has collapsed. It was made of tile, so that should be reinforced. And then all over the barn, in many places around the hem of the barn, the covering needs to be replaced in most parts, and then, paint it nicely with this traditional red paint. Although I already started cleaning out the barn, it's still very full of stuff and quite a big mess, so there is still much to do there. And I haven't even been up to the loft yet. There is a lot of firewood, which is good, but it's just in heaps laying around everywhere. I would really need to staple them in nice piles and dedicate one room for it, because now it's a little bit here and a little bit there and everywhere. One of the rooms would be fun to make into a little storage place or a little museum, as I joke about. And there I could put all of Siskola Farmstead treasures that I have found and that I want to keep and admire. And then my plan for the big room is to make an inside seating area with tables and chairs and some cozy lights. And since the barn is quite big, there would still be a good area for storage as well. The little garage that is next to the cottage, that will be a workshop. It's quite small for a garage, but it would be a perfect place for a workshop, and it's still full of stuff, so I haven't cleaned it out at all. I haven't touched it at all. We just put some furniture from inside the cottage to be stored there. Those furniture that I really wanted to restore at some point, but I can't wait to clear it up all and go through all the things and make it neat and nice. There's also an old root cellar between the barn and the sauna. It looks a bit rough, I have to say. I haven't been brave enough to actually go in there. I just peeked through the doorway. And it seems like there's a massive amount of styrofoam inside. So that's another project I would really love to get my hands on. But it's not a very high priority at the moment. The roof on the root cellar, it is also made of tile, and it looks a bit like it has fallen down in some parts. So I think the wood underneath is probably damaged. There are two buildings that need to be demolished on the property. The old aviary here, where we found the old windows, and also another building behind the barn that I believe it was a workshop at some point. The roof of it has collapsed and there is a big ant nest in the doorway. And I can peek through the doorway and I see that there are a saw and some things inside it. But I haven't digged my way in there yet. That building is marked on the map, so it must have had some kind of significance in the past. The other building that needs to be taken down is the old aviary, because half of it has collapsed already, and only the part with the metal roofing is still standing, but it is very, very shaky. And I would actually, on the same spot or close to it, I would like to build a greenhouse instead. I would build it from these old windows that I got, and I already made a plan for it. And it's really incredible because all the windows are a little bit different sizes, and only 3 small windows were not used in this plan. All the other windows has been used in my plan. Here you can see the plan with the different windows. So the sides are not looking the same, they are a little bit different. One side has 2 big windows and this side has smaller windows. But this would be a quite big greenhouse with 24 windows in total, and it would be just over 3 meters. The highest spot in the middle and then around 16.5 square meters would be in the inside. But before that, I would really love to make a fenced garden with 12 beds. Well, to begin with, I would just maybe do a couple, and it would be 10 by 10 meters, like a square, and that would come just on the west side of the barn. And it has to be fenced because there's a lot of deer in the area. On the loft there is a lot of old hay, but I will reuse it for the garden. I'm planning of doing this hygelkultur, so a mound bed where you put decaying rotten wood underneath and then soil on top, and you plant there. I would love to have a small pond on the property. It shouldn't be such a utopian dream, since there is already a stream running through the land and the ground level is pretty low in this area. I think it's mostly to dig a hole, make a dam, and then flood the hole. But I have to make some more research about it to be sure. I won't go into anything related to electricity or plumbing, since it's something I know nothing about, and I won't do any of that kind of work myself. I know this was just a little scratch on the surface and it's quite a long video already, but I hope you got a little bit of an overview of what are my plans and what are the things that need to be done, because it's really a massive project. So these videos will go on forever, I believe. I really hope you enjoy this content. And if you think that anybody else might enjoy my channel, feel free to share it on your social media platforms. And I just want to wish you a good day and a happy new year to everybody. Bye bye.